Yo, what is going on, guys? We are back today for another video. So as promised, we're going to be speculating and trying our best to predict who the upcoming champions are going to be in December for the Banquet. So we have 2 out of the 6 revealed, and then some hints on what the other 4 could be and how they're going to work. And then we also have the Banquet Realm event here, which we know there's 2 first-time 7-stars will be featured here. So we have Absorbing Man and assumably a skill champion here. So I'm just going to start with this one right now, actually. So this one, it's not going to be a buff. It's just a champion that is currently locked as a 6-star. And assumably they scale to an Absorbing Man level. Alright, so who do we have that fits that category? Well, there are only really a few options. I would say 4 realistic, maybe 5 realistic options that this could actually be. More realistically, 4. The 5th one was Thor Ragnarok. I don't think it's going to be him, but he did get buffed at one point, and he is better now, but still, I just want them to delete this Thor from the game and give us, instead, put in Infinity War Thor, or Endgame Thor, or, it's just a cool Stormbreaker Thor. I really hate this Thor. He had this weapon and this shield for 5 minutes, not even in the movie, and yet we're stuck with it forever in game. And it, I hate it. But let's get back to the video. So realistically, 4 champions, and Aegon is one of them. And I don't think it's going to be Aegon. I don't. I'm not going to be predicting Aegon at all in this video for anything. I don't think he's coming. Karate Mike at one point said, I swear I remember reading something that he said Aegon wasn't coming. He was a part of the latest saga in the current one. He's listed on some rank up gems and stuff. So there's a chance, but that's just if it happens, it happens. We're not going to talk about it too much. That's all the screen time Aegon's getting today. So that brings us down to 3 realistic, probable options. The first of which is Kingpin, and I think Kingpin is absolutely the #1 most likely candidate for this spot, because he makes sense. He makes complete sense here, because first of all, Kingpin is very, very powerful. He's also bald, like Absorbing Man. What if they just went for the double baldies? I could see it. One super fit, one little bigger, but actually Kingpin is supposed to be super low body fat percentage anyways. It's all muscle. He's just got that much muscle. So 2 muscled baldies, and Brian Grant has just returned. What do those 3 have in common? Bald caps. So I think it's likely, and I think Kingpin is an Absorbing Man level. He scales to that level as being that powerful of a champion. No, we haven't gotten 7-star Kingpin for a reason. Kabams been waiting for the right time. So Kingpin is my pick for this slot. I think that makes the most sense. The other 2 possible options would be Valkyrie, which I don't think Valkyrie is Absorbing Man level. I think she's great, but I don't think she's that good. I don't think she's that good. Because I don't know how it's going to work. They might have said it's a selector, you pick one or the other. And if that's the case, if it's Valkyrie and Absorbing Man, people are going to pick Absorbing Man. But if it's Absorbing Man or Kingpin, so I feel like most people will pick Absorbing Man, but a good amount of people will pick Kingpin. And then the other choice would be Kate Bishop. But I think the thing is I think Kate Bishop is a good amount more powerful than Absorbing Man. And Absorbing Man is already ridiculously strong, but Kate Bishop is just truly one of the most broken champions in the history of Marvel Contest of Champions. To put her into perspective for you on the whole attributes that Kabam loves to call back to when it comes to rebalancing, RIP the rebalance program, Kate Bishop had a 2 out of 5 in the damage category. Once again, to put that into perspective, Dracula, who just came out, is a 4 out of 5 in the champion attributes. Just think about that for a second. Just think about that. It's insane. Kate Bishop, as a 6-star, has better block proficiency than Dr. Doom. She is a better Cold Snap character than Iceman, an Omega level mutant made of ice. It's just so ridiculous. One perfect release with her special 1, passive, OP Cold Snap. It's ridiculous. So I think Kate is simply too powerful at this point in the contest to even be a 7-star. So like, there's no way. I think there's no way we see her in here. There's no way. So with all that said, like, Kingpin just makes the most sense. It's just thinking it through, talking it through. I'm convincing myself more and more. It's got to be Kingpin. It's got to be. If I'm wrong on this one, I'll be surprised. Honestly, I'm really have a good feeling it's gonna be Kingpin. All right, but now let's get back to the other boxes. So our hints here is that there's 2 reworks and 4 first-time 7-stars. So we can -1 out of each of those categories because Jane Foster is one of the reworks and Nimrod is one of the 4 first-timers. So that brings us down to 1 rework and 3 new first-time 7-stars. So we're going to go class by class. We might as well start with skill since we were already talking about skill. So there's one of 2 ways this can go in each and every class. There can either be a rework or a new 7-star. And we don't know which class is getting the rework. So that adds to the fun of the guessing game here. So let's first, for skill, I think for the other classes, we'll be class by class. We'll go by class by class. But for skill, let's start with, I think it would be if it's a first-timer. Because we already mentioned Kingpin. So like I'm going to take Kingpin out of the equation here. We already mentioned Kate Bishop, too broken. I think a champ that makes a lot of sense would be Valkyrie for this spot. I think Valkyrie in here is like the right power level. I think she would make a ton of sense. Also, apparently, I heard that there was recently an update to Valkyrie that just kind of showcases the grit icon on her when she's countering Unstoppable. Because like she doesn't have grit in her kit, but it functions essentially the same way as grit. Like Valkyrie essentially had grit before grit had a name and a mechanic and an icon in game. So I think they retroactively gave it to her. That's what I've heard anyways. And if that is true, I think that makes a lot of sense. Why would they do that if they're not releasing her as a 7-star? They could, just randomly, but I think it makes sense. So I think Valkyrie makes the most sense for the skill spot if it's, a first-timer 7-star. I think Aegon could also make sense for this if we are going to be getting another like Necropolis level content, which would be awesome. So yeah, I would say Valkyrie or Aegon. I don't want to talk too much about Aegon, but yeah, I'll give him an honorable mention. I think those are the 2 most likely spots if it's a first-timer for the skill slot. If it's alright, now let's play the other side of the coin. If it's not a first-timer, if it's a rework. So we'd have to look for a pretty bad skill champion that does not exist as a 7-star. And there's lots of options. So there's quite a few options here. There is OG Punisher. I don't think it's going to be him because he's always been tied to arenas. So I just don't, for that reason, I don't think it's going to be him. Winter Soldier. Elektra. Squirrel Girl. She's not a 7-star, right? Yeah, she's not. Taskmaster. Moon Knight. But we just got Mr. Knight, so I don't think it would be Moon Knight. There's Agent Venom. Thor Ragnarok, which we talked about earlier. Agent Venom would be a really, really cool one. But like he's already so crazy with his synergies. So if they did buff him, they'd have to address the synergies in some manner. They could potentially put some of the synergy stuff just into his kit. Which I'd really love. Like I think Agent Venom, I'm a sucker for symbiote characters. So if it's Agent Venom, that'd be awesome. I'd be really happy with that. As long as they do him justice, of course. But it's also OG Daredevil. There's OG Black Widow. And I think that's it. I might have missed one or two, but that's for the most part. Those are our likely candidates. So I think out of everyone we mentioned, I think the number one most likely is Elektra. I think it's Elektra. Don't ask me why or how. Something just tells me Elektra. Got a feeling. Got a gut feeling it'd be Elektra. So that's my pick. That's who I think it's going to be. Elektra's always been pretty cool. Honestly, I'd be down for an Elektra buff. I think that'd be pretty cool. She's got some cool stuff with ability accuracy. Reduction. I think that's my pick. I'd say her or Daredevil would be my number one and number two picks. I really love Daredevil. Love this version of Daredevil. The classic suit look. I used to use him too early on in the game. He has 40% perfect block chance, which is actually pretty insane. Not much other abilities. But yeah, Daredevil would be sick. Alright, so that's our skill class. Those are my predictions for skill. Alright, let's go ahead and move on now to science. So, jumping on over to the science class. So, who could it be if it's a first-time 7-star? There's one champion. So we recently got announced that Cassie Lang is going to be going into the Titan Crystal. So we can just completely remove her from the conversation, which is good. That helps. I think there's really just one champion that makes the most sense. And if they want Banquet to be really hype this year, I think they would do this champion. And that's Scorpion. So I think Scorpion is most likely for this science spot. I really do. I think Scorpion is incredibly powerful. But at the same time, like if they released him as a 7-star, I don't think he'd be that game-breaking compared to some other champions that are currently held back as 6 stars, you know? I think Scorpion's amazing, but like they've released Photon now. They've released Spider-Woman, although she is getting nerfed. Some very other powerful science champions, so I really don't think Scorpion would be too big of an ask compared to like Kate Bishop, for example. Like Kate Bishop, way too powerful for the current state of the game, in my opinion. But Scorpion, I think the time is just right now. I think the contest is awaiting this man. But if they did release Scorpion, I feel like that would overshadow Lizard a teeny bit, you know? A long-anticipated Spider-Man science villain that we're just getting that also has ruptures. So maybe for that reason they wouldn't do Scorpion. But I don't know. I still think Scorpion is likely. He is my choice for science. But if it's not Scorpion, who would it be? So if it's a champion that is getting reworked in the science class, who could that be? Electro is an option. Electro right now is super basic, and you know, basically you just hit him and you take damage, essentially. So he could get a really crazy buff. Although they're already buffing Jane Foster and Nimrod, which are both shock-based champions. And if they did buff Electro, I'm sure shocks would be incorporated into that buff. So maybe for that reason alone, that doesn't make a ton of sense, just having half the pool be full of shock champions. So Yeah, I don't think that would be a very smart move. So I don't think it's going to be Electro. It could be him. Who else could it be? Gladiator Hulk. What if they did like Thor Ragnarok and Gladiator Hulk together? Thor's a skill champ, and then Gulk is a science champ, and they buff him. That could be very interesting. I really do like the design and look of this Hulk. Minus the weapons, I think but like, I love the helmet. He looks great. The body white paint, a little bit of armor that he has, the shoes. He looks great. Hulk Ragnarok buff would be pretty cool. I've always liked this Hulk. I remember when 6 stars first came out, he was one of my most wanted. And I did end up getting him, I think. But he's never really been that useful. But it would be cool to just have a Hulk that has like a really comic book accurate healing factor. I would really like that if they were to buff this guy. Just great damage, great healing. That's what I want to see. So that is an option. Who else could it be? Wasp, I guess. They could do Wasp. They are releasing Cassie as a 7-star, so I feel like releasing Wasp at around the same time could coincide, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like be overshadowing Cassie during the Titan. There's a chance, but I don't really see it being Wasp. And then other than that, it would really just be Abomination or one of the Captain Americas. And we already have Immortal Abomination, so I feel like it's unlikely this guy, this ugly dude, will get the love. But I feel like Captain America could be pretty likely. So, final choices. If it's a first-time 7-star, my guess is Scorpion. If it's if the rework is in the science class, I'm gonna go ahead and guess Captain America. Either one. Yeah, that's my guess for the science class. And if they were to buff a Captain America, I would love to see worthy Captain America, bro. Oh, that would be so hype for Banquet. Dude, that'd be a good way to save the game, because the game is low-key on life support right now. Worthy Captain America, he could breathe new life into this game. I mean, so could a Stormbreaker Thor, but, you know. Buff Jane Foster instead. Alright, that's a science class. Alright, so we've talked about skill, science. Let's move on to Mutant. Mutant should be a fun one. Alright, let's go take a gander at the Mutant class here. Okay, so there are some candidates right out the gate. There are some good candidates. So Kitty. I think Kitty falls in the same category as Hercules, Kate Bishop, as just too broken to become a 7-star. Yeah, they have absolutely game-breaking mechanics. Hercules with his immortality, Kate Bishop with her ridiculous damage that is just so easy to get and maintain, and then Kitty with her insane phasing window that is essentially indestructible. Passive indestructible is the equivalent to Kitty's phase when awakened. It's what it is. It's a passive indestructible at all times while you're phased. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely game breaking. To be able to be passively indestructible for more than 50% of a fight, with skill you can only get that percentage higher. Like, that is ridiculous. And with the Tiger synergy, it's easy. You have unblockable combos. Like, it's unfair. I don't. So we're just gonna exclude Cross Kitty off the list. There's no way it's her. There's just no way. She's too powerful, in my opinion. That's someone who put in a lot of hours playing Kitty, so I know firsthand how broken she is. All right, that leads us to some other powerful champions and more realistic, likely candidates. And I think there's two that really come to mind right away. Yeah, it's really just two. The first one is Archangel, and the second one is Magneto. I can absolutely, if this is a first-time 7-star and not a rework in the mutant class, I think it has to be Archangel or Magneto. I don't see any other mutant champ being hype enough or good enough to be a first-time 7-star in this Banquet event. And they did recently update some character models in the mutant class. Magneto was one of them. So I feel like, yeah, man, I feel like it's going to be Magneto. I think I'm going to put Magneto as my number 1 prediction and Archangel as my number 2 prediction. It could go either one, but I think Magneto makes a bit more sense for the fact that he got updated character model. And I feel like Archangel is definitely more broken than Magneto. You know, both of them, when you bring them to the correct matchup, they're insane. But Archangel, like, he's just such an insanely fast nuke, especially in Battlegrounds. And they did release Torch, who was, like, a nuke that went hand-in-hand with Archangel, so... But at the same time, I feel like it would be smarter for Kabam to save Archangel for, like, how they did with Human Torch for a Heat Wave. I'm not saying I want them to do that. I'm just saying, if I was Kabam, that would make more sense in my business brain to save Archangel for a standalone event instead of putting him in the Banquet. Because that's what I try to do with these videos. I try to think like Kabam. So, yeah, that's why I put Magneto slightly above Archangel. Alright, let's think about this from the other side of things. What if the rework is in the mutant class? And honestly, I kind of hope it is. Because there's some really, really, really good mutant candidates that need a buff. So who do we have? We have Goldpool, Old Cyclops, Psylocke, Beast. Old Man Logan did already get buffed at one point. Rogue. Jubilee. Platinum Pool. X23 is already confirmed to be getting a buff. But I hope that's just separate to this. You know? I hope that's a separate thing, personally. Because we already know that's coming. Deadpool. Red Suit Classic OG Deadpool. Oh my god. Yes. Yes. Cable. Cable's a good one. Toad is already confirmed to be getting a buff via the end of the rebalancing program. He was one of the last ones, I think. Yeah, that's really it. So out of all the champs we mentioned, there's really two for me that I've just been wanting since the beginning of the game to get buffed. And that is Wolverine and Deadpool. Classic OG versions. You know, there's a good version of Deadpool in game with Deadpool X-Force now. Great version of Deadpool. The best Deadpool we've ever had in game. But it's not the classic OG Red Pool. That is like one of the biggest mascots of the game. You know, they should have buffed this guy last year for the 10-year anniversary. They should have given him the buff instead of Deadpool X-Force, in my opinion. Yeah, like give Deadpool some of what Deadpool X-Force can do, but change it up. Definitely let him have the insane regen. And just make him broken. Make him so broken. Give him, like, the teleporting belt. Just give him so many crazy, unrealistic, godly abilities. I want to see that so freaking bad on Deadpool, man. Be so hype. And on the other side, Wolverine. Dude, Wolverine. And again, we have a good Wolverine in game with Weapon X. It's a pretty good version of Wolverine. Probably the best meta-relevant version that we have. But still, that one's... Yeah, he's good, but... There's nothing like the classic Wolverine suit. The yellow and the black or dark blue. It just... Oof. This is Wolverine. And, you know, the cool thing is that this Wolverine is actually really good as a horseman. He gets critical bleeds, and he starts to go crazy. So again, if they could just incorporate some of what already exists in game into his base kit, he could just be phenomenal. Phenomenal champion here. I would really, really like to see Wolverine or Deadpool get the buff. If the mutant is one of the reworks. Those are my absolute hopes and top picks, Wolverine and Deadpool. Other notable option would be, I don't know, Beast or Rogue. I wouldn't be mad about that. And then if it is just a first timer in the 7-star, first 7-star, it's got to be Magneto or Archangel. Alright guys, that leaves us with one final class, and that is the Cosmic class, which we already talked about briefly in just that Hercules, give him a big fat X here, just cross him out. It's not going to be Hercules. There's no way. Nah. Honestly, I hope not. I don't want to see them to Hercules. Not yet, at least. Again, I just think he's too broken. So let's just cross him out, take him out of the equation. Okay. Now, let's start with if it's a first-time 7-star and not a rework in the Cosmic class. I think there's really, realistically, only two options here. Only two options here, and that is Hulkling or Cosmic Ghost Rider. Absolutely, without a doubt. If it's going to be a new 7-star, it has to be one of these two champions. And if it is, that's going to be so hype. It's going to be so hype. Because both of these Cosmic champions, if they get released as a 7-star, are immediately going to be in the conversation for one of the best Cosmics in the game. You know, like, immediately. They're that good. Even compared to the likes of Deathless Thanos, Serpent, Dark Phoenix, Carolina, Cull Obsidian. They can hang and compare with those champions. Like, almost at a 6-star level. Especially Cosmic Ghost Rider. At a 7-star level, it's going to be ridiculous. So I would say, comparing the two, which one is more likely? So let me give you my brief thoughts on each champion. So I would say, I think Cosmic Ghost Rider is the superior attacker, without a shadow of a doubt. He's the better attacker. He's faster. He has more utility. He's not quite as easy to use, but he has more complex loops. But that just means he can do more with those loops. You know, Slayer has shown a million different rotations. It's actually impressive how much Cosmic Ghost Rider can actually do. It's way more than you would think. So I think Cosmic Ghost Rider is the superior attacker, a more powerful attacker. I also think he is like more overpowered in a sense. So I personally feel like that makes him slightly less likely to be the Cosmic candidate. On the other side of things, now none of that was a jab at Hulkling. None of that. That's all just praise to Cosmic Ghost Rider. On the flip side of things, Hulkling is a much better overall champion than Cosmic Ghost Rider, because Hulkling is a dual threat. Hulkling is ridiculous, redonkulous on defense. So getting Hulkling is immediately a dual threat, multi-purpose champion. You draft him in Battlegrounds. It's going to be better overall than Cosmic Ghost Rider, in my opinion. That's the way I look at these two champions. I think, you know, CGR is a superior attacker, better, but overall, Hulkling, I still say, is the better overall champion because he's useful on the whole other side of things with defense. And his regen on defense is very powerful. His indestructible buff on defense is so annoying. Like, it's a slog to fight him. I would say Hulkling is a very overtuned champion. Very much so. Like, I was genuinely disappointed when Hulkling never got any type of defensive rebalancing tuned down, because I just thought he was too powerful. Genuinely. I was a little disappointed. Yeah. Freaking rebalance program, dude. They're never doing what they should be doing for the health of the game. So, yeah, if they release Hulkling, he's just going to be such a powerful two-way champion. And, like, I said Cosmic Ghost Rider is a better attacker, but Hulkling is still such a good attacker, such a phenomenal attacker, and so easy to use. You know, just tap their block a few times, go unblockable, rip the special 2, get the double furies, and then do a combo after that with a relic, and they're cooked. You know, plus we got new relics now as well, so I'm sure there's probably a better relic interaction for Hulkling to take advantage of too. So that can make him even more dominant. I've been always rocking the Gamora relic with Hulkling, which just increases the duration of those special 2 Furies. I think it's a really good relic for him. I won so many Battleground matches back in the day with Hulkling. Like, a ridiculous amount. Like, my win rate with him was just through the roof, because that's how powerful he was. So, yeah, I think, again, Hulkling's the number 1 pick, CGR's number 2. if they go with either of those champions, this event immediately just gets multiplied by 2 or 3 times of hype levels, in my opinion. Like, it'd be crazy, especially if we get like Scorpion and Hulkling together and like a buff to. Oh, dude, there's so much potential here. Knowing Kabam, it's probably going to be more disappointing than what I'm building up in my head, because in my head I'm building up so much hype right now for what this could be. I'm sure I'm going to end up disappointed. This is a recipe for disaster, but it's still fun to think about. Okay, but now let's play the other side of the coin. What if Cosmic is the rework? And if Cosmic's the rework, rip Hulkling and CGR. And the other reason why I think it's somewhat likely that we could get Hulkling or CGR now is because of Cull Obsidian. Cull Obsidian is an animal, and if Cull Obsidian is allowed as a 7-star, then maybe Hulkling and CGR should be too. That's a pretty good argument, so I could see that. Okay, but what if it is a buffed 7-star? Dude, what if it's Thor? What if they do both Thors? Thor Jane Foster and OG Thor. I don't think there's any way Kabam actually does that, but man, would that be hype. I don't think it's gonna happen though. I really don't think that's gonna happen. Thanos. OG Thanos buff would be so cool. That'd be, man, his sig ability is literally called Immortality. What if they actually gave this guy Immortality? What if they took like Deathless Thanos and Serpent's kits and put them together? Oh my god, that'd be... There's no way. But just imagine for a second if they did something like that. Oh god. Symbiote Spider-Man. Now, Symbiote Spider-Man is the champion I want buffed most in the entirety of MCOC, I would say. But, like, I've told Kabam, like, if you buff this guy, hit me up. Like, let me help. Like, Symbiote Spider-Man is my favorite version of Spider-Man. With the Venom Symbiote and the Carnage Symbiote. 2 favorite versions of Spider-Man. And I've told Kabam, like, if you buff Symbiote Spider-Man or you add Spider Carnage to the game, like, I will help you for free. Let me know. So they haven't hit me up. So like I mean, and that's not to say they would. They might just buff him without me, which I don't know how I feel about that, because I'd be worried that they'd screw up, you know. Because I know if I'm helping, I'm gonna make him powerful. Oh, I'm gonna make him so good. But it's an option, certainly an option. Super Skrull, we already know he's getting buffed. And that's going to be part of like Cyber Weekend, him and Yondu, which is wild. Then there's the champion for Sabadia. I don't think see it happening, but there's that. There's Heimdall. Could be Heimdall. Could be. There is always a Nihilus. Like, they could just release a Nihilus as a first-time 7-star, which would be wild. I don't want to see that. They did buff him at one point. Could happen. Icarus, another semi-viable option. Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel would be a cool one, dude. She's OG. She's cool. I like her. I think those are really the main candidates. There's also Hela. Kamala. Oh, and Groot, of course. Actually, no, there's still a couple options. Yeah, Groot. Groot is... Actually... Groot would make a lot of sense. Groot would make a lot of sense, bro. He's a tree. What does everyone put in their homes for Christmas? Christmas trees. When is the banquet? December. The month of Christmas. I think Groot could make a ton of sense. And if not Groot, Black Bolt. Dude. Black Bolt buff would go so hard. Oh, I would love to see Black Bolt get an insanely awesome buff. We talked about it on one of the videos of just underrated champions in the game compared to their comic book power scaling level. And Black Bolt, man, is one's criminal. So... yeah, man. Black Bolt his character model looks really good. I'd like for him to get like an update like in fight, but like looking at him here, he looks good, you know? Say maybe make the black suit a little bit more shiny, a little bit more gleam to it. But yeah, man. Oh, a Black Bolt buff would go so freaking hard. I'd love to see that. And then I guess there's OG Captain Marvel too. Oh, and Drax. Forgot Draxy. I mean, I couldn't see him. He was invisible. That's why. But yeah, that's our Cosmic class. So here, I think Hulkling, CGR, top 2 most likely candidates if it's a first-time 7-star. If it's a buff, I think Black Bolt or Groot are probably my top 2 picks. Yeah. For what it's likely going to be. Yeah. Alright. Alright, that pretty much wraps it all up, guys. Those are my thoughts on who the possible reworks could be for the upcoming Founders Keeper box for the Banquet in December. Possible reworks in each class, and possible first-time appearance 7-stars, plus the Realm event as well, which we covered at the beginning of the video. That's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this and my analysis on all this kind of stuff. Typically, my track record in the past has been pretty good for being able to predict these kind of things. So I'm really curious to see what we get right, what we get wrong this time around. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Drop a comment what you guys think are predicting for each class. What you thought of my predictions. You think I'm way off base? You think I'm spitting some facts? Let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe, share, for some more content. Much love. Peace.